Hello and welcome back to the Lift Your Life podcast. And as you can see, we have a slightly more glowed up office going on if you are watching, of course, and if you're listening, just please know that my office looks a little bit better. But in today's episode, I want to bring you something a little bit different today. So I'm actually going to be inserting a clip from our client webinar that we ran last night. It won't be last night when you're listening to this, but it's last night when I'm recording this Tuesday morning. And the reason I wanted to share it is I think there's a lot of powerful insights from our client webinar that I really wanted to share with everyone else. So our client webinar last night that was run by me and Laura was us sharing with our client base some of the biggest mistakes that we've made on our journey as clients and what we don't want you guys to fall into the same mistake of making. And it was really good, a really good insight. So I thought, well, why not? I've recorded it anyway. Why not actually share it with you guys, give you a bit of an insight into how we do things behind It Lift Your Life in terms of the webinars that we run for our clients, but an insight into our journey and the mistakes that both me and Laura have made, because as clients, we have both made many mistakes on our own journeys as clients within the fitness space. And I hope it can stop you making the same ones as well. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the insights into our world and into it. So I wanted to do this one because it can be very easy to see that me and Laura have got it all together at this moment in time and that we're crushing it and we're looking shit hot and all this stuff. But guess what? We've made many mistakes on our fitness journey, some that are quite big mistakes, which some of you probably would never consider doing. And you've already been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But some things that may just have slipped your mind that we've both done on our journeys from the nearer the beginning, but also on our coaching journeys of being clients as well. So we just want to share them with you today. So ultimately you don't make the same mistakes. So Laura, you take the floor first. What is your first mistake that you made and why was it a problem?
So I made the mistake from the beginning of thinking that I could out-train a bad diet. So when I first started going to the gym, before I had a coach or anything like that, I just started going to the gym because I wanted to lose weight. And I was going like 4 or 5 times a week and I was going for like a wee while and I was like, I'm going to the gym, but nothing's changing, not losing weight. My body still looks the same. Like, what's going on? Was I eating well? No. I was like, my diet was horrendous. I couldn't even tell you like what calories I was eating, but I was not in a deficit. So yeah, I think it's very easy to think like, oh, I'm going to the gym, so I'm going to see progress. But at the end of the day, like the gym is just a tiny part of it. And what is it they say, like 80% in the kitchen, 20% gym or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's about
but
right.
Yeah, it's very true. You can't out-train a bad diet, unfortunately.
You can't. And also as well, you'll find that if you are wanting to make a lot of changes, especially if you are pushing yourself with your training in terms of wanting to build muscle and recomp your body, a bad diet is only just going to make the process a lot slower and harder because the quality of what you eat is going to have a massive impact on how you look. So even people think, oh, it's purely just being in a deficit to, lose weight. Yes, it is, but also where that deficit comes from and with building muscle, where that food comes from is going to make a world of difference. So if your diet is not where you want it to be, it is going to have a huge impact on the overall look. Someone just dropped something in the chat. I feel attacked 5 minutes in. This was not aimed at anyone. We had no idea who was showing up for the webinar, I promise. Okay, this was one of mine. So this is something that I made a mistake of with being a client multiple times, which is not communicating when the plan wasn't working for me because I felt like I had to show up and do the plan. So my first ever PT coach, and I first made this commitment that I was going to work with I was going to better myself. I was going to do this. And I got given this meal plan. And I'd gone from, bearing in mind, I worked at KFC at the time. So my diet literally consisted of, I think it was like a breakfast biscuit in the morning, nothing all day. And then I just smashed KFC in the evening. Like legit, that was my diet for months on end. Then it was like eggs on a morning. I didn't even like eggs at the time. Then like a salad at lunch, a protein shake post-workout, like a protein shake and some nuts. Then like chicken and veg and sweet potato. And then I think it's like a Total Fire yogurt with like just some dark chocolate in there. Never had dark chocolate. I remember the first time trying to force myself to like it, like, no. And I just didn't communicate that. And I just tried it and I was just making myself miserable. And it only got to, I think about a month into the plan. And she was like, going, so how are you getting on with the nutrition? I'm really stuck to it because I just don't like the food. She goes, why don't you tell me? I was like, felt bad. So we changed it all. And then we had like protein oats for breakfast and meals that I really liked. And then that's when I started to get some really good results because I was enjoying the meal plan. And now when something isn't working for me, I always communicate that with my coach because it has to work for both of us. Like right now, I'll be fully honest, I've just had a bit of a ding dong with Vicky about something because she's asked me to do something this week, which I've just said, look, it's not going to work for me for this X, Y, and Z reason. And we're having a bit of back and forward about it. But that's better than me just saying, yeah, I'll do it and not doing it, because then she thinks I'm doing it and we're just getting nowhere. So if something isn't working for you, something doesn't sit with you for whatever reason, vocalize that. Your coach, if they're a good coach, which me and Laura are, we're the best, we're bangers, they want the plan to work. But if you don't tell us it's not working or something doesn't feel right, we're just going to make the assumption that you're fine. So we're just going to carry on. Do you have anything to comment on that, Laura?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So it's all fine and well just thinking, oh, I just won't do this part of it. But if you're not telling us, how are we meant to know what's not working?
Yeah.
So like the things that we set for you, if it's stuck to it, it's going to work. So if you're not telling us there's something wrong and it's not working, then we're like, right, hang on a second, there's something wrong here, but we're not mind readers. We don't know unless you tell us.
We're not that
Communication is key.
We're working on the mind reading, but we're not quite there yet. Laura, your next biggest mistake. Let's go.
Yeah, so expecting to see massive changes in just a couple of weeks. And I think everyone's guilty of this when they first start their fitness journey or whatever you want to call it, because you don't want to feel like you have to keep doing it for months and months and months on end or like years. But in reality, it's a long-term process. You have to work at it. You can't just expect to see results in like 2 weeks' time. So yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, really.
Yeah. And one of the best things that I look at progress as is imagining like a blade of grass growing, right? If you were to look at that blade of grass every single day, you'd be like, it's the same. It looks the freaking same. There's nothing changing. But if you look at that blade of grass like a year down the line, it's going to go from like a little stump to like being a big stick of grass. And that's because change does take time. But when you look at yourself every single day, you can get very frustrated and disheartened. But if you know that you're ticking the boxes and being consistent, looking over that progress of weeks and months and years, that's when the magic happens. So I always try not to get caught up in day to day, focus on ticking your boxes and doing what you need to do and look for the changes over time, because that's when you look at things and go, okay, yeah, stuff's improved, but not just visually, but in your habits and your mindset and your strength. That's when you'll see the big changes. Like in the gym, how often do you get annoyed that you've not hit a PB? All the time. But if you actually look at how much you've grown in strength from when you first, like Lauren, when you first started, like with me and some of the lifts you were doing then compared to now, like your strength's like day difference. But right now your progressions are very, very small or don't really change. But if you think back to that first ever form video you sent me or whatever, how much have you changed?
God, I don't even want to think about those. They're horrendous.
I think we should dig them out of the archive. I think we're quite funny.
Let's not.
Let's not go there. Okay, cool. Speaking of that, this was one of mine, was always trying to just lift heavier and not focusing on form. I was one of them absolute dicks, basically, that just tried to lift heavier. And I think I was in like my 4th week of PT sessions, bearing in mind I'd never lifted a weight, and I was trying to pull like a 70, 80 kg deadlift. It was stupid because I just wanted to lift heavier and just be strong. And I'm still now, like 4 or 5 years in my lifting journey, having to basically unlearn a lot of my really poor habits, especially sort of things around like back where I'm become really trap dominant, because I just focused on just lifting as heavy as I could. And now I'm having to undo that. And I genuinely think my strength progressions would be a lot better. I mean, I just blame the hormones now because I can use that wild card, but genuinely, I think I would have progressed a lot faster had I really focused and taken the time to really nail my form, connect with that muscle, understand what I should be feeling, rather than just seeing progressions in the gym as heavier, because progressions are more than just how much you lift. It's how accurate you can lift, how intense you can lift, extra reps. Those things all matter just as much. So if I could go right back to day one, I would tell that girl to stop trying to lift as heavy as you can and understand each movement, get 10 out of 10 with form, and then you can start thinking about getting stronger.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. because it's, especially with a lot of exercises, you find you can move heavier weight.
Yeah, so it gets fun, doesn't it? It's
But
exciting. Leg press.
yeah, no, exactly. So like, I don't know, for example, you can maybe move like 150 kg, but then you lower the weight a bit and you're like, oh, I can actually feel that more
Yeah.
because you're getting like full depth, you're getting actual range of motion, and you're performing it correctly. I'm not even going to say that I never do that now. Like there is the odd time where I'm just like, I'll do something and I'm like, why did I do that? Like I just wanted the PB, but then I'm like, I should have just went
Yeah.
later.
And is it a PB if you didn't get good form though?
Well, that's it. I mean, my form's not bad.
Arguable. Laura, next one.
Okay, so yeah, I went through a stage of thinking meal replacement shakes were a healthy and sustainable way to achieve fat loss. So this was probably, oh God, I don't even know how long ago, like 12 years ago at least. And I used meal replacement shakes. So I can't remember exactly, but off the top of my head, the shakes were maybe like somewhere between 100 and 200 calories each.
That's about right.
And you had 2 of those a day with one main meal and one snack, I think.
Nice.
So like, just like think about that. I was probably eating like 1,000 calories a day, and like obviously I saw like weight loss, but did I like my body didn't look good for it? Like I was that like skinny fat. Do you know what I mean? And the difference from then, I think like I've posted a photo before, when it was like I was doing meal replacement shakes, and to when I actually started calorie counting and just being in like a slight deficit and lifting weights, and the difference in my body composition was crazy, like absolutely crazy. So yeah, meal replacement shakes, not good, not good. Stay away.
I'd like to think everyone on this call is beyond that, but anyone who listens to this back as well, just don't bother. Just
Yeah.
don't do it. And mine, not putting health as number one. Something I've buried and I've just thought about aesthetics and just what I want to do in the gym for years and years and years and years. And this is why I do mention to you guys and talk to you guys in relation to health mentally and physically a lot when I'm doing check-ins and communication. Because the last thing I want is anyone to be in the boat that I'm in right now, which is basically a mess for someone who's 24. And I could very easily have not been here and sorted this years ago had I just realized, oh, okay, I've not got a menstrual cycle and I should have one. I need to sort this. And I was like, be right. And then I tried to sort it and then just forgot about it. And then I'm years down the line and stuff's not good. So whenever I'm always maybe being a little bit overcautious and talking about things from a health perspective, mentally and physically, there's a reason for it, because I don't want anyone to be here having to spend thousands of pounds plus, I'm counting, on private healthcare. And, you know, I might have to put a lot of my sort of health and fitness goals on the back burner, who knows for how long, because of something that I could have sorted earlier down the line. And I just was a bit selfish and put aesthetics first. And I will put my hands up and say that I did. And I regret it. I really do. And I don't think any of you are in this boat, but like Michelle on this call, for example, we've got a health focus at the moment, and I would never, ever, ever compromise anyone's health just to look a little bit better. Because I'll tell you right now, if I could turn back the clocks and, you know, never have these cool photo shoot pictures, but have like my full menstrual cycle and health, I'd do that in a heartbeat without a shadow of a doubt. And that is our client webinar wrapped up and done. And I hope you've learned something from it, and I hope you can take something from it, from something that both me and Laura have done, the mistakes that we've made, and we basically wanted to share them so you guys don't make them too. But thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. As always, if you've enjoyed it, just drop me a message, drop it a share, a tag on Instagram. It always goes a long way. And as always, if there's anything that you want us to cover, please just let me know. Drop me a DM on Instagram. My DMs are always open for any questions based off things we discuss in the podcast, or for any ideas that you'd like us to run on the podcast. But for now, over and out. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak with you on next week's episode.